Some lives do not break because of one dramatic fall. They wear away in the small moments when a person withdraws their hand just before touching the door that might have changed everything. An intention appears, and something inside moves to extinguish it. An opportunity arrives, and an inner verdict is already waiting. Nothing has failed yet in the real world, and still the feeling of defeat has already spread across the road ahead. That is how a life begins to shrink. Dreams grow smaller, courage grows smaller. Even the future narrows under the weight of steps that were never allowed to be taken. The frightening part is not how many times we have failed. It is that, on some days, fear does not even grant us the right to begin. And when that pattern repeats for long enough, people stop calling it fear. They start calling it who they are. So before we ask what failure does to a person, we have to look at the darker moment when the mind closes the door before life has the chance to answer. Many people live inside that moment far longer than they realize. They do not fail in a loud, obvious way. There is no single collapse dramatic enough for others to point to and say, "This is where everything went wrong." From the outside, their lives may still look intact. They wake up, go to work, reply to messages, speak about plans they may still hope to pursue someday. But somewhere beneath that ordinary surface, something has already drawn back. Not because they lack intelligence, not because the world has denied them every road forward, but because each time they move towards something that matters, an inner force pulls them back before the first real step. That voice is not always violent. Most of the time, it does not need to be. It rarely shouts. Sometimes it only whispers, with the quiet authority of something that sounds reasonable. "You are not built for this. You will only embarrass yourself. Other people can do it because they have something you do." Not be careful. Stay where it is familiar. Do not turn a private doubt into a public failure. That is what makes it dangerous. It does not arrive wearing the face of destruction. It arrives disguised as logic. It convinces a person that retreat is maturity, that hesitation is wisdom, that self-erasure is realism. And after a while, fear no longer feels like fear. It feels like good judgment. Someone wants to start a small business. The idea is there. A rough plan is there. For a brief moment, they can almost see it. The lights on, the work becoming real, the fragile dignity of building something with their own hands. But the moment that image begins to take shape, darker images rush in to replace it. Debt, failure, humiliation, the look in other people's eyes if it goes badly. And so the plan is folded away, not because it had no chance to live, but because it was strangled inside imagination before reality ever had the chance to test it. Someone else wants to learn a new skill, a new language, a new way of speaking, a new way of standing in the world. But then they look around and see others moving faster, sounding better, appearing far more certain. A few minutes of comparison are enough to drain belief from the body. They sit in front of the book, the lesson, the registration page, and it feels less like a beginning than a stage on which they are destined to expose everything they are not. So they close it. No one forbids them to continue. The order comes from within. Another person sees a job that could alter the direction of their life. They read the description carefully. They notice that some parts suit them, perhaps more than they want to admit. Yet instead of asking, "What if this is the opening I have been waiting for?" they ask a different question altogether. What if I am not enough? What if they see through me? What if I enter the room and my inadequacy becomes visible under the light? And with that, a door that might have opened is shut before a hand even reaches for it. This is why the damage is so difficult to recognize at first. It does not always wound in a single blow. It erodes quietly, patiently. It reduces a person by repetition. Every time you refuse yourself the chance to begin, you lose more than one specific opportunity. You lose a little more trust in your own ability to face the unknown. Every time you retreat from something you genuinely want, you teach the mind a dangerous lesson. Avoidance brings relief, and the mind learns quickly. It remembers the instant lightness that comes after withdrawal. It records the fact that if you do not try, you do not have to endure exposure, judgment, disappointment, or the ache of being imperfect in public. Then next time it pulls you back sooner, more efficiently, with less resistance from you. That is the point at which fear begins to harden into identity. You stop saying, "I am afraid I will fail." You start saying, "This simply is not for me. I am not that kind of person. I am too slow. I do not have the talent. I was never meant for bigger things." They sound like harmless sentences. They are not. They are bars being placed around a life, one line at a time. Each repetition strengthens the cage. Each conclusion makes the space smaller. And after long enough, people stop asking whether those thoughts are true. They simply live inside them. One of the most damaging illusions is the belief that brave people are the ones who do not feel fear. That is not true. Many people walk forward with trembling still alive inside them. The difference is not that they feel less. The difference is that they do not let fear become the final authority over what their life is allowed to become. So many of us do the opposite. We hand fear the judge's seat. We ask it when the time is right. We ask it whether we are ready. We ask it whether we are enough. And fear never answers with permission. It asks for more certainty, more proof, more protection, more guarantees than life was ever designed to offer. So a person waits. They wait to be more confident, more skilled, more stable, more impressive. They wait for a version of themselves that feels polished enough to begin without trembling. But that version often never arrives. And while they wait for a stronger self to appear, the self that already exists begins to wither inside postponement. The mind, after all, is not built to prioritize growth. Its first loyalty is survival. And to the mind, emotional pain can look like danger. Humiliation can look like danger. Rejection can look like danger. Disappointment can look like danger. So it magnifies risk, reduces possibility, and creates inner landscapes in which one uncertain step feels as if it could destroy the whole structure of the self. The problem is that the mind does not always distinguish well between what is truly threatening and what is merely painful to imagine. So often what stops us is not reality itself. It is a forecast darkened by fear. We think we are avoiding failure, but sometimes what we are really avoiding is the experience of seeing ourselves unfinished, unpolished, unimpressive. We do not want to feel clumsy at the beginning. We do not want to wear the visible awkwardness of someone who is new. We want to step into a path already fluent, already certain, already validated, and that fragile pride becomes another prison. Because no real life begins in perfection. Every real path starts with roughness, with missteps, with a body and mind still learning how to move. The cost of fearing failure before action is not only the loss of chances. The deeper cost is that you become accustomed to a diminished version of yourself. You become used to standing outside, used to watching others move while you remain in explanation, used to giving your retreats respectable names, used to living in a smaller emotional radius than the one your life once asked for. And because it becomes familiar, It can even begin to resemble peace. But familiarity is not the same as peace. Sometimes it is only a slow form of disappearance, and then one day, often in a quiet and almost unbearable moment, you look back, not with theatrical panic, not with some grand breakdown, just with a thin, piercing clarity. You see how many doors remained unopened, how many versions of yourself were never given a chance to exist, how many roads were abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because you kept sentencing them before they began. And the sorrow of that recognition is heavy in a particular way. It is not the grief of having tried and lost. It is the grief of having been kept from your own life. Yet strangely, this is also where a different kind of light can begin. Not the loud kind, not the kind that flatters you with easy optimism, not the shallow reassurance that everything will work out if you simply believe harder, but a quieter truth, and one with more weight to it. Fear does not disappear first, and then we move. We move, and fear slowly loses the absolute power it once held. That changes everything. If your goal is to feel no fear before acting, you may remain trapped for years. Human beings are rarely fully ready for the things that matter most. But if courage is understood differently, not as the absence of trembling, but as the decision to continue while trembling remains, then the first door begins to open. You do not need to defeat fear in one dramatic act. You only need to stop treating it as the supreme judge of your future. You do not need to build the entire business today. You only need to let the first honest plan remain alive long enough to reach the page. You do not need to speak beautifully from the beginning. You only need to allow yourself the dignity of awkward first attempts. You do not need proof that you are already enough for the opportunity in front of you. You only need to send this application before the inner executioner drags your hand away. These actions look small, small enough for pride to dismiss them, small enough for the hungry part of the ego to call them insignificant. But lives do not usually change direction through grand declarations. They change through real acts that interrupt old patterns. Each time you do something while still afraid, you send your mind a new message. Discomfort is not fatal. Embarrassment is not annihilation. Rejection does not erase your worth. A clumsy beginning does not mean a meaningless life. Those lived experiences matter more than hundreds of private pep talks because they force the mind to revise what it once believed without question, that staying still is the only way to remain safe. You may still fail in some early attempts. You may still perform badly. You may still be rejected. You may still have days when the familiar darkness calls you back. But failure changes shape once you stop worshiping it as a prophecy. It becomes information, feedback, a necessary part of contact with the real world. And the moment you can see it that way, it stops being a curse. It returns to its proper place, not as a verdict on your identity, but as one ordinary element of becoming. Perhaps what has exhausted you all these years is not only that life is difficult. Perhaps it is that you have had to live under the pressure of your own inner sentences. Too many times you wanted to move forward and had to drag yourself backward at the same time. Too many times you reached toward change only to extinguish the reaching before it took form. That kind of inner conflict wears a person down, not because they are lazy, not because they are weak, but because they have been fighting a private trial inside themselves for too long. So maybe the first thing you need is not to become fearless overnight. Maybe it is simply to tell the truth. Fear has been making too many decisions for me, and from that honesty, a different kind of strength can emerge. Not loud, not dramatic, just real enough to alter direction. From today, I will not keep sentencing myself before the beginning. The road ahead may still be dark. You may still be unable to see the whole distance. But the truth is, many roads in life are never lit in advance. They brighten under the weight of footsteps. So if there is still something inside you that has been delayed for too long, a desire repeatedly dragged back into shadow, a door you have stood before for years without touching, perhaps what you need is not another judgment. Perhaps you need a first step, not a perfect one, not a glorious one, not one that earns immediate recognition, only a real one. Because in the end, what extinguishes a person most deeply is not a few stumbles in the outer world. It is allowing fear to decide on their behalf for so long that they forget they were always allowed to move. And perhaps the light you have been waiting for was never waiting at the end of the road at all. Perhaps it appears in the moment you stop denying yourself and finally step out of the first darkness inside your own mind. There may still be unsteady days ahead, but if you ever need a place to grow quiet, to understand yourself a little more before moving on, mine Psypher will be here, like a still space deep enough for your own light to return.